All right, let's go. Let's do this. So we're going to be this is study number 6 for the series Imagine All the People. We're in Matthew chapter 5, verse 38 to 48. So again, this is a pre-study. So if you haven't read the passage, go ahead and pause the video, read it a couple times for yourself. It's really good to be able to digest it yourself, read it, really let it soak it in before you hear any of the other stuff. Because once we get going, I'm just going to go psh. And so it's good to have thought about it and thought about some of the questions already for yourself before, listening to everything I say. All right. So this passage, Matthew chapter 5, 38 to 48, basically what is happening is Jesus says, and he quotes this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Passage is from Leviticus 24. There's also another place in Deuteronomy where it talks about this. And he says, this is what it said, eye to an eye, for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But Jesus is saying, do not resist evil. But if anyone slaps you, give them the other cheek. If someone wants to sue you for your tunic, give them your cloak. If someone wants to force you to go a mile, go with them 2 miles. And then if anyone begs from you, give to the one who begs from you. Do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. So this is like a pretty difficult passage. It's very difficult to interpret. It's very challenging. It's very interesting. So we need to kind of get into it. What is it all about? And then the second half of the passage, it talks about loving your neighbor and hating your enemy. And it's like who does good to their friend? Everyone does good to their friend. But what sets us apart is if you do good to your enemy or if you love your enemy. And the last verse is a very challenging verse. Therefore must be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. So, the first thing about this passage is that it's like Jesus is quoting this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth passage, and then he says, but I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But earlier, he said that he was not coming to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. But here it really does seem like he's abolishing. He's saying, forget the eye for eye, tooth for tooth thing. It's not just the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It's also that you get rid of that completely, and you don't take back what someone hurts you with. Like if someone slaps you, you're supposed to be able to slap them back, right? No. Instead of if someone slaps you, now you let them slap you again. So it's kind of like if someone's trying to steal your money, not only give them your money, but give them more stuff as well. And you could, if you've seen the musical Les Miserables, that's what happened to Jean Valjean, right? And so it's kind of saying, throw that out. That is completely wrong. We're going to do this new way of living. So the question is Jesus really throwing out the previous command of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? Jesus says he didn't come to abolish it, but it sounds like he's abolishing it. So what does the Levitical law say? The Levitical law says, hey, if someone hurts you, let's say they stole a cow from you or something, okay? So they stole a cow. So what do you do when someone still steals a cow from them? I think a lot of people will be like, okay, I want to kill that person, right? Let's kill them. Is that right? Obviously, the Levitical law says, no, that's wrong. You do not kill someone just because they stole a cow from you. The punishment is not equal. It needs to be equal. So if someone kills you or stole a cow from you, a proper way of punishing that person is to maybe take the cow back. Right? So you take the cow back. And maybe if the cow is, you spend a lot of time doing that, so maybe you can get you can charge them some extra money or whatever to make up for all the trouble or something like that, right? But you don't kill them. So you do not kill, right? Do not kill them, right? You do not go to this area. All you do is you take the cow back. It has to be equal or commensurate, equal to, the punishment has to be equal to the crime, right? And that's what the Levitical law says. If you're over here, and if you can kind of think of this as a spectrum, the punishment is, this is too severe, right? Too severe of a punishment. This is a good punishment because it's equal. And so if you can kind of imagine like a little line of like severity, it's this is the Levitical law is saying this is too severe, you need to go back to here. But what Jesus is saying is, this is interesting and all. He's like, hey, that's cool. It's like, that's too severe. And the Levitical law is saying not this, but this. But Jesus is saying that's not what the Levitical law, the heart of the Levitical law is. The heart of the Levitical law is saying, hey, actually, it's not just don't do this and do this. He's saying it's actually moving in a direction. This is the direction that the Levitical law is moving in. Right? This is too severe. So let's move in this direction. Right? This is the Levitical law. This is what it's doing. Jesus goes, oh, Levitical law is moving in this direction. But look at all this space over here. Maybe we could do something with that. If this line kept moving, what would happen? Is there more over here that we can look at? Right? What's like right here? What's right here? Maybe right here is we're not going to do anything. Don't take the cow back. Don't take the cow back. So basically, you go here, you're giving him the cow. Right? You say, hey, you can take this cow. This cow now belongs to you. So Jesus is saying, hey, maybe we should go here. Right? Jesus is making the argument, don't take the cow back. Just give him the cow. This is better. If this is better than this, maybe this is better than this. Right? You can substitute anything here. Getting slapped. You slap them back, right? So Jesus said, don't slap them back. Or this is slap them back. This is maybe like, punch them or kill them, right? This is don't slap them back. This is slap them back. This is don't slap them back. But then he says over here, there's something even more. Let's take a look what's over here. What is over here? Maybe what is over here is, instead of not only do you not take the cow back, you give them more cows. Or you give them chickens, or you give them extra stuff. Right? If this is better than this is better than this, maybe this is even better than that. So Jesus is like, hey, let's push this even further. Let's see how far we can go down that line. If someone slaps you, don't slap them back. In fact, don't slap them back, but just let them slap your other cheek. If someone asks you to walk with them a mile, don't say, oh yeah, okay, fine, I'll just walk with you a mile, right? Walk with them 2 miles. It's like, how far in this direction can you go? This is too severe. This is less severe. And then over here it's better than that. It's more perfect. So that's why he says, be perfect like your heavenly Father is perfect. He's saying, how perfect can we get? How ideal? Let's look at the ideal, right? So the ideal is much more important, right, than any of these specific points. It's not about the point that you're specifically at. It's about how far in this direction can we possibly go? How perfect can we get? And that's what Jesus is trying to say here. So in fact, it is the fulfillment of the law. This direction is the fulfillment of the law. He sees that the law is not just going from here to here. It's a direction. And so that is what the heart of interpreting the scriptures is to looking at the direction of where the scriptures are. Looking at where the heart of the law is trying to go. Not the exact law of what it says. The law, Levitical law says this. But Jesus is saying the heart of the law is this direction. So let's head in this direction. Okay, so let's get into the meat of this, which is, this is really hard to live out. This is super hard to live out. How are we going to do this? And what are the practical ramifications of it? Okay, so one of the arguments here is that how do you practically, if someone's going to hit you, if someone's beating you up, are you just going to say, keep beating me up? A couple of the examples I bring up in the study are, if someone's scamming you, are you just going to let them scam you? If someone is beating you up really bad, are you just going to let them hurt you? I don't think that the point of this passage is to say, hey, just let someone beat you up. I don't think that that's the point. I think the point is understand why is someone beating you up and see, is there a reason why, what you can do to help them. If the physical motion of like, slap you makes them feel better, then yeah, slap the other cheek too. That's helping someone. That's saying, hey, I understand you have frustration. You need to take it out on someone. Go ahead, take it out on me. I'm available, right? Or a soldier, he needs to carry the pack. Like carrying it for 2 miles is a good thing for him. Hey, you need a tunic. Do you need a cloak also? That's looking at for the good of that person and in a radical way. Again, this is not always easy to apply, and it requires wisdom, and that's why it's not written like that in the law. But that's Jesus' point, that we have to apply wisdom. And these 3 cases are just case studies or examples of how you can go the extra mile to love someone. It's not making a new law. It's not saying you have to do it this way. So don't think of it that way. That's not the point of it. The point of it is you should try, and we should be perfect and try to go to the ultimate goal rather than settling for reading the law for what it is and settling at this point when we can go all the way over there and love someone so much. So that's the point of the law. Okay, one last issue. I don't think I talked about this in the study, but one last issue is the issue of pacifism. Now, Jesus says, do not resist the one who is evil, but if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the left also. The other also. Is that advocating pacifism? I think a lot of people would argue, and a lot of commentaries I read does say that this advocates pacifism. Well, I think that is kind of along the right track, but I think it kind of misses the point. The point is not to make a new law. So I cannot emphasize that enough. The point of this passage is not to say this is the new standard. It's saying, I think the point of the passage is saying it's not about standards. It's about direction. So you see like the illustration. It's not about this or this. It's about the direction of this. Go all the way possible. We know we can never be perfect like God is perfect. But Jesus is not saying if you're not perfect, you're not going to be a follower. You cannot be a disciple. He's not saying that. He's saying go as far in this direction as possible. If you don't go as far as you can possibly imagine, then you should that's the standard. The standard is the direction and how hard you're pushing into that direction. The standard is not, okay, pacifism, war, blah, 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 blah. So, in a sense, actually, what people are saying is, hey, someone is being violent against you. Let's say 9/11, right? Osama bin Laden bombs us. Don't fight back. That's what pacifism says. Pacifism says it's wrong to fight back. I don't think that that's exactly the purpose of this passage. I think the purpose of this passage is maybe even more than that. Purpose of this passage is to say, don't even think of Osama bin Laden with the anger, with all that. Just say, how can I love Osama? How can I love the people who hate us? How can I love on those Islamic fundamentalists? What is in their heart and why are they hurting someone so much to cause them to do this violence? And how can I help them and how can I love them? But I think the point is, do good. Do as much good as possible. And a lot of that times that means don't fight back. But a lot of times what that should mean is even more than that. And it's not a prescriptive thing. It's not like, okay, in this situation you do this, in this situation you do this. It's going to require a lot of wisdom. You can't just follow a formula. Every situation is different, and you're going to have to think and meditate and listen to the Spirit on every single situation. What is the maximum good I can do in this possible situation? What's the maximum love I can possibly do in this situation? And it's a lot more than pacifism generally. Pacifism just means do nothing. Which, again, do nothing is already on this side of the spectrum, which is usually pretty good if someone harms you. But Jesus is calling us to go beyond that. It's further than that. Okay? Okay, so let's move on to the application. And this is kind of difficult because if people are really trying to scam us or rip us off, it's like, how can we love them, right? I think one of the big areas where we can look at the application or how to live the story out is in terms of people who are racist and bigoted. How do we treat them? In this world today, we treat, which like, okay, you made a racist remark. You, like, Justin Trudeau, he did blackface or whatever. What's the reaction to that? Do we try to love that kind of person who's our enemy? Or do we, not saying that what he did was right, but, or do we say, you're disgusting, you're bad, I can't believe you did that, right? If someone in our church came out and confessed some sins and said, I hurt someone, I maybe did XYZ crimes in the past, I was racist, I was bigoted, do we go, wow, can't believe you did that, you're such a bad person? Are those the thoughts that go through our head? Or is it more like, how can we love them? And again, it's always a question, right? It's like, how can we love them? Because every situation is different, and you can have to use your wisdom and discernment and following the Spirit to figure those exact things out. But I think that that's what this passage is calling us to do. It's more than just, pacifism. More than just nonviolent resistance. It's maybe you shouldn't even resist at all. Maybe you shouldn't be advocating for your own causes at all, but you're advocating for their causes. It's far greater than we even could know or comprehend sometimes. It's the direction, not the standard. All right? Okay. Thank you for watching the video. That's it for this video. Please like or subscribe. Thank you. Just kidding.